am Patrycja Kujawska. I am a musician, I am an actress. I sing in the show as well, although I wouldn't necessarily call myself a singer. I guess those skills, as we get older, they are kind of expanding, but I think I prefer to call it myself just a performer. The most important thing is to say that we don't play any characters. So I am myself. I am myself in Motherland, and I am doing certain actions. I am performing a little vignettes, which are sometimes very short, sometimes longer. There's 79 or 80 little vignettes, or big vignettes. And there are certain moments which always make me feel uncomfortable, and certain moments which are making me interested. And there are certain scenes which I'm always re-questioning, like again and again, what does it mean? Like even for me, although I've done 2 tours, there are still some unknown questions, unknown answers for the questions, and I think that's the interesting place to be as a performer. I think when I know all the answers for the questions, that means that that the whole circle that the show made the whole circle, and it's time to move on. Well, there are certain interesting moments. For example, one of the scenes which is called "Is There a Lady in the House?" when I'm standing on the box, just wearing my pants and bra, with the microphone in my pants, which produces a feedback. I'm surrounded with two men on each side, and they are speaking a very chauvinistic pig text to the microphones, and I being in the middle of it and looking at the audience. There is a plethora of questions in my head which are just coming there all the time, like, what is my place here? I'm half naked there. What the audience think about it? So it's actually me being on the stage. At that point I feel like I am observer, I am a part of the audience, like I am the bridge between us on the stage and the audience out there. I think for me one of the most challenging or difficult scenes is the lullaby, when I'm singing, tracing the back wall. It's just kind of technical thing. That scene comes after the Pussy Riot, when I'm singing in a slightly rock and roll manner, being quite loud and big, and then just a couple of minutes later I have to strip it right back down to the very intimate place. But I like the challenge of doing that. Hope. What do I hope? That was one of the big questions when we were devising the show. We were desperately trying to insert some hope into the show, thinking that quite a lot of images which we produce are a little bit dark or bleak or dramatic. So I think we were trying to put a little bit of humor and hope as a big subject. I think Motherland for me, it's a little bit like a meditative sort of shows, very slowly paced and quite delicate and quite exposed. I think we are quite exposed on the stage, and if we manage to kind of open the doors to somebody's imagination or fragility, then I think that's our success. Motherland for me, it's as I say, it is a sort of labyrinth where you try to find what is womanhood about, what is manhood about, what is to be a child, what is it to grow up in the 21st century. It's all kind of entangled. It's a labyrinth. It's a jungle out there. Bodily function, that's for sure. That we've got blood in the stage, wine and blood. Sometimes you don't know which one is which. The sense of aging, the sense of generations and passing on a certain knowledge. I find myself much more grown up in that show, rather than in any of the previous shows. It's partly due to the fact that we've got a younger performer as well, and she's a little bit like a mirror in front of me, and I clearly can feel that I moved on somewhere in a different bracket of womanhood. It's a theatre. I wouldn't even call it a dance theatre. It's an interesting piece of art, whilst we were working on developing the material, there was a lot of questions about the duration of the show. We were producing so much material, then we thought like, maybe that's a different medium, maybe it should be an installation, maybe it should be a durational show. By the end of the devising process, it kind of found its place as a 2 hour, it's found its form as a 2 hour show without interval. The attention span, that's the thing. The attention span these days, it's getting shorter and shorter. I find myself sometimes being incredibly impatient. And then sometimes when I get mesmerized and I just kind of sink into something, I could sit for hours. And I think I like to practice being more patient and stay within something which actually needs a little bit more time to dig deeper and to find some truth. The very beginning section of the show, when all of us are just simply entering the stage, just to look in the eye of the audience and giving them a moment to observe who we are and to get the rules of the game. It's gonna be what it is. Look at me, there's not much more. It's just me, and there is yet so much about that. It's the beginning of the journey which sets the climate for the rest 2 hours. But we've heard sometimes in the post-show discussion that without that scene of us entering the stage, people wouldn't know how to read the show. It's like a map. Repetition is one of my favorite tools in the theatre, actually. I enjoy repeats on the stage a certain kind of scenes which, well, it's never a full repetition, it's never exactly the same. We would combine, let's say, exactly the same phrase of music to a slightly different picture. It's not exact carbon print of the image or the music. Usually they kind of enhance or overlap. Sometimes repetition can be a little bit frightening, because you might see something for the third time and think like, oh my God, how many times they're gonna repeat it? How many times will she fall down? How many times she will splat the blood on the wall? Will it be endless? Will it be until the wall is kind of finished? Or like it's a lot of questions which are provoked in the audience by using the tool of repetition. Music is very important and very integral in each of the Vincent Dance theatre shows, and we don't think of a music anymore as a ear pleasing form of art. We would use it in much more edgy way. The feedback which I am producing from my crotch is not supposed to make you feel comfortable in the audience. It's supposed to be screechy and quite horrible. That's what we want to achieve. It's not the soothing Bach. It's not the lulling Mozart. It's something more edgy. The loud sound of the gong accompanying Aurora's birth. It's supposed to be frightening. It's supposed to be almighty. It's supposed to be annoying, and I quite like that we treat instruments and the sound as a tool to annoy sometimes, or to provoke, to be edgy, to be uncomfortable. God knows we need a little bit of soothing sound and a little bit of gentle melancholy, just to accompany maybe Benita's stories about motherhood, just to reflect on how different it was to be a mother in 50s or 60s or 70s, and how we moved on. And I enjoy playing violin in a melancholic and gentle, soothing manner. And there is a different part of me which just absolutely have interest and appetite to dig into the world of the repulsive sound, more agitating, more upsetting, and not very pleasing for the audience ear, just to kind of test the boundaries, how far we can go, how far we can scratch somebody's shield, just to get inside of you. I think silence is it's very important. It's in this show we use more silence than we've ever used before, and then after that silence, when something musical happens, it's brought in such a significance because we've earned that by the silence which is before. Yes, there's one of my favorite moments is 7 Ages. When Aurora is producing loads of human-like and unhuman-like sounds to the microphone with the accompany of Scott and Adrian. The other lovely piece of music is the diagonal when Andrea is making her way to the Motherland board to the sound of piano, and that's soothing music. It's like a little elegy for the mother, for the woman who is trying to be a mother or try to prove that she's a mother. The wooden boxes. Each of the boxes seems to be a bottomless well of human life. We use it as in a very practical manner. We come on the stage and reveal the prop or a bit of a costume, which we will use later on. But they seem much bigger than they are. They seem like you could put the whole lifetime in one of those boxes. And actually, because they are old military boxes, which were used in battlefields. I suppose that's a kind of different background to it. Motherland is a bit of a battleground as well for art, for music, for the subjects which we are using. So I like the symbolism of the box there. It's quite multi-layered for me. The whiteness, it's there is nowhere to hide in that whiteness, and once you let yourself be exposed, it lets you be quite liberated. You are who you are. This whiteness will emphasize it incredibly. And I think we were trying to, because we are talking about the subject which can be very earthy or folk-like as well. We didn't want to make it too folk. We wanted to strip it right back to the necessity. One of the lovelier images is when Andrea lies over the box with the piece of grass growing from her womb. That's where the hope is in that show as well. It's one of the favorite images. The other one is Janusz prancing in his high heels and squeezing his bum. The other one is Aurora being stuffed and getting progressively, heavily, ridiculously pregnant with the bloody legs. It's both disturbing and hilarious at the same time. I could go on and on. I love me being in the wig. That's one of the favorite images, actually. Me sporting the stupid, hideous, disgusting white wig. I love it.